We spoke earlier with Gary Douglas of the North Country Chamber of Commerce. This is their sponsored event for the 27th year, the Business Expo, SUNY Plattsburgh Field House on Upper Ruger Street. He said there would be a major announcement coming up at 1 o'clock, and it's now 30 seconds before 1 o'clock now. And they will be announcing the North American Center for Excellence for Transportation Equipment, being launched right now on behalf of Nova Bus here in the North Country. It's the North Country Chamber of Commerce, the Development Corporation, several area transportation equipment companies using this Business Expo from the Chamber as an opportunity to announce the creation of this special entity, as I mentioned, called the North American Center of Excellence for Transportation Equipment. So it's a virtual center under the umbrella of the North Country Chamber that will unify the transportation equipment cluster in the region in the interest of what the Chamber says of identifying needs and opportunities that can be jointly addressed and pursued. There are other cluster initiatives elsewhere in Canada and Montreal, Quebec. So transportation is a big deal around the North Country, especially here in Plattsburgh and Clinton County. So you're about to hear that announcement very shortly now, as they're planning to start around 1 o'clock, and it's just 30 seconds after 1 o'clock now. Nice to see such large crowds, including dozens and dozens of our many friends here at the Business Expo. Gary Douglas has never been a shy person when it comes to holding a microphone or standing up to a podium. And today will be no exception.
Looks like he's holding off, waiting for Tom Hollick to get his tripod set up here.
Well, do you think that's what it is? Tom can't make the legs short enough, I guess. Tom is somewhat of an icon in the area himself. We're so proud of everything he's done. He's a very smart, I can call him a young man because he is compared to me. And I'm so delighted that he decided to stay in the business after his stint at the local commercial television station. I bet that camera cost a little more than yours, Calvin. What do you think?
Probably.
Yeah. I think we're ready to begin.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming out. I'm Gary Douglas, President of the North Country Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today to talk about an exciting new development in the future of transportation equipment cluster in the North Country, centered here in Plattsburgh. Many of you have heard us say at the Chamber, our underlying philosophy for economic development in the region, where things move is where prosperity occurs. That is the centerpiece of the direction of all of our efforts in terms of the attraction of investment, the generation of jobs and economic activity and progress for the North Country. We are in two kinds of business here in the Plattsburgh area. We need to remind ourselves of that. Number one, we're in the Quebec business. And number two, a very strong subset of that, we're in the transportation equipment business. We have real opportunities for both going forward, but we increasingly need to be more strategic and more collaborative to build on the successes of the last 15 years to make sure that, number one, the companies and players and partners that we already have here maximize their competitiveness and have a way to address their changing needs, their problems and their challenges, and to pursue their opportunities going forward. We can't just be passive and say, well, they're here, they'll take care of themselves. Because our greatest growth will come from their future prosperity, will come from their success, and the story that tells to others that the Plattsburgh region is the place to be if you are in the transportation equipment business. Today we are announcing the creation of the North American Center of Excellence for Transportation Equipment. The North American Center of Excellence is not a building, although there will be a number of buildings, including Fred Smith's new building in the future over at Clinton Community College, that will play a role in the center. What it is a virtual center. It's a partnership, a collaboration, a commitment by all who have a role in the current status and future success of transportation equipment in the North Country to work together to help one another. First of all, the companies themselves to come together as a powerful cluster organization who share with each other what their needs are, who share solutions, who share ways that they can all be more competitive together than they can be separately. And then again, to develop the kinds of changing programs in support of things like workforce development, supply chain connectivity, advocacy in Washington and Albany, other elements of success for our transportation equipment companies to go forward together and do those things and to maximize the success that we're capable to have here. It will provide a home in the private sector wing of the center for those companies to come together as a new New York transportation equipment cluster, a trade organization, if you will, for transportation equipment related companies, starting here in the North Country, but with a vision of building that cluster across the state as a powerful new unification of the sector. And for partnership among a number of organizations, many of whom are here in the audience today, the Chamber, of course, the Development Corporation, the State of New York through Empire State Development and NYSTAR, the North Country Regional Economic Development Council, the North Country Workforce Investment Board, Clarkson University, SUNY Plattsburgh, Clinton Community College, CV Tech, SciTech, the P-Tech program here in the North Country, and others. It is a way for them to take the collaboration they're already all committed to and having a focal point to collaborate in a more serious, sustained, and strategic way going forward. There will also be a follow-up story to this next week, so I can give you a little bit of a taste. You notice the beginning of the name is the North American Center. It's not the North Country Center, it's not the Plattsburgh Center, the North American Center. Well, how is it North American? Well, it's North American, first of all, because most of our companies in the cluster are North American. They're binational, even trinational and global in nature when you talk about those companies. But also, next Thursday, we will have the pleasure in St. Jean-sur-Richelieu at the annual conference of the Quebec Ground Transportation Cluster of announcing and signing a memorandum of understanding which will establish a full partnership and collaboration between our new North American Center and their center in Quebec, with a common commitment not to build two clusters, but to commonly build a binational transportation equipment cluster involving both Quebec and New York. So today is a first step. Next Thursday will be the next step. There'll be many steps after that to expand this, to bring in all of those partners in meaningful ways, and to expand the scope of the partnership across the state and perhaps globally wherever there is an opportunity to do that. One of the very key partner organizations who created the foundation over the last couple of years amongst the transportation equipment companies here to generate the notion of, first of all, a cluster among the companies, and then to lead to the logical decision that the next step was to create a platform such as the new North American Center of Excellence, is the Development Corporation of Clinton County. And I'd like to call at this time on our partner and friend, Paul Grasso. There you go.
Thank you. This is a real exciting day. This is a real exciting day for Plattsburgh. I mean, the center is actually going to formalize a cluster that is the key economic driver in the region. Importance of place is still critical, and when companies are making site selection decisions, they like to locate in areas where there are like companies. Area Development Magazine recently did a survey, and it showed that 60% of their readership like to be in areas where there were like companies. It becomes a very important decision. The center is going to facilitate a national and global linkages of companies in the transportation equipment manufacturing business. It's critically important because manufacturing prowess isn't really enough to create a cluster. As Gary said, you need the educational institutions, you need the workforce development, you need the supply chain, you need research and development, you need the financial resources for all of those things to succeed. And having the North American Center for Excellence be the center of where all that is going to occur is critically important for the success of what is the largest driver of our economic success in the region, and we're very proud to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Jim Tooley is here on behalf of Nova Bus and Prevo. Jim is chair of the Industrial Council at the Chamber, has been for a number of years, and also has been playing a leading role at the Development Corporation in the work that Paul was just talking about that's been done there, and we're happy to have him comment about this announcement today.
Thank you, Gary. First of all, I'm addressing you as the chairman of the New York State Transportation Equipment Cluster. And it's wonderful news. We've had a group of approximately 12 transportation equipment companies working together for almost a year now, along with the educational community and community leaders, to work on essentially things that through collaboration we can make us all more competitive. This idea of clustering rose out of initiative, as Gary said, of the Development Corp, and the Development Corp used CAI Global to identify natural industrial clusters in our area. Once transportation was identified, we went to work to identify what areas do we all have issues in, that by improving those issues we will become more competitive. And I'm very happy to say today that we now have an umbrella of the North American Center of Excellence for Transportation Equipment to work underneath to make ourselves all more competitive, increase the number of partnering companies, and also the jobs for this community. Thank you very much.
Another key leader and a member of the board at the Chamber and at the Development Corporation who has been key to getting us to this point is John Vermette from Spencer ARL. John?
Thank you, everyone, and just echo a little bit more of what my friend said. This is an exciting time. Creating this cluster is just another good step to ensure the longevity of the world-class leaders in mass transit that are fortunate enough to locate right here in our backyard. And Spencer ARL is a part of that, and we're excited to be a part of that. We look forward to the future. Thank you.
Here on behalf of our friends at Bombardier is Jeff Lambert.
Hello. One thing that we wanted to also talk about is exactly how the cluster benefits transportation. And Jim hit it right on the head when he said competitive. In order to make us more competitive, by having the supply base local, you're reducing your logistics costs. You're increasing the availability of the engineers from other sites to come over and work with your company as well, within a true partnership. So yeah, that's what I got for you.
And from our friends at B3CG, Francois Demers.
Hi. Very important for us to be part of that cluster. We are a long-term partner with Nova Bus in the Canadian side, so now being established here in the Plattsburgh area is great, and seeing all the clusters formation and everything attached to it is very encouraging, because like it's said before, it's answering a lot of difficulties we were facing so far. So it's very exciting to be part of it, and very exciting for our future and our strategic development. So.
With that, we'll be happy to take some questions or to talk with any of you on the side afterwards. Okay. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to rolling out some more news starting next week about the North American Center of Excellence for Transportation Equipment.
Like so many people in this room, Fred Smith and I go back a few hundred years to our church camp days at Camp Branningham at Aldersgate over near what is that, near Lowville, Fred?
Near Lowville, Lions Falls, that whole area.
Great memories.
Yes.
So you ended up on the bluff at Clinton Community College. I don't know if it was through some fault of your own. How long are you going to stick around up there?
I'm there for 2 years.
2 years?
So I've got a year to go. Betty Little calls me, the SUNY Rena president.
Isn't that beautiful? I love it. Nobody's more capable than you are. You just stood here and listened to all the speeches at this new cluster. What's that going to mean for you up on the hill?
Well, we're very much a part of that cluster with the much touted AMI building.
Oh, yes.
It's coming our way probably, it's a major grant, $12.7 million. That will probably open in the summer, late spring, summer of 2017.
Wow.
And it's going to make a difference for the college. It's going to make a difference for the whole area. I mean, when you talk about us being a community college, that's a wonderful example of how we meet community needs. Manufacturing is what it's all about here, and manufacturing needs the support of the Clintons, of the P-Tech programs, the different things that are going on right now. So it's pretty exciting. It's the future. I'll be gone for the ribbon cutting.
Talk about the future. We have been talking about it today at the Clinton Community College booth and elsewhere when anybody will listen. But community colleges are now coming of age, aren't they, in our country?
Oh, absolutely. And I can say that because I started with State University over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can remember when we looked on our nose at community colleges.
I said that. I used the phrase poor stepchild, but now
it's a whole different situation now.
Certainly,
it's such a vital part of filling all kinds of educational needs in various areas around the state, and we're really proud of the role that we play in the North Country.
We have had so many friends and very close relatives who've attended Clinton Community College, who've gone on to be very successful people in many different fields.
Yes.
So, and as I mentioned earlier, but I'll do it for your benefit now, when people come to visit me from out of town, one of the first places I take them is up on the bluff to look at that beautiful vista off your balcony, or just standing in the back and reading those historic plaques.
We're going to start charging people like you.
We should have a place to put a nickel or a quarter.
Right, yes.
It is a special place and a wonderful place for so many reasons. We're so delighted that you ended up there, at least for the time being.
I feel very lucky to be there. Great challenges, believe me, and challenges that all community colleges are facing now. Much of it has to do with enrollment.
Yeah.
And, colleges are a business, and if you don't have the enrollment, it's tough. And enrollments are down everywhere, and it's all primarily relates to high school populations, and they're down. So we don't get the students.
We tighten our belts and take the next step into the next year. Fred, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And for being part
both.
of this big story. Have a great day, Fred.